and he didn't show up. So I pretty much got stood up. And then he even blocked my number. So a few months go by and I end up moving in with my best friend, about an hour away from where I was living when I met him. Well, the one night she came home and told me that he had messaged her on Instagram, which I thought was funny as hell because my best friend did not swing that way. So she pretends to flirt with him and asks him to come over. So he drives an hour to our apartment, and when he walks in, he just sees me standing in the kitchen. He immediately walked out. Story time about how
what was interesting is that I was only really allowed to go to Christian concerts. I didn't go to my first concert until my senior year, which was a country concert. I had gone to probably like 5 or 6 Christian concerts, and I only really could listen to good music with my parents. Anytime something raunchy would turn on, they'd be like, oh my gosh, turn it off. As for boys, I was never allowed to have a boyfriend until I was 16. Obviously, I went against this rule because I was just a rebel, but they wouldn't allow me to actually have a boyfriend until I was like 16. Then when I first got my license, or when all my friends were getting their license, absolutely he texts me and is like, Tessa, I'm horny. Is it okay if I get with other girls? Bitch, I never told you couldn't, but like, what a weird thing to text me. Anyways, time goes on. I still am trying to distance myself. He's just on my dick. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. And every weekend I would come home. He would beg me to go to his hockey games. I would give in. That's on me. We would hang out after whatever. So after a while of that, I started falling back into it. Also, I was struggling at college, and this was like an escape that I would come home and see him. So one night,
his birthday, all this shit on his license. I have a picture of this man's license on my phone. You're not gonna get away that easy, sir. She then tells me I can move my car. I'm like, thank God, I'm getting screamed at. Thank you so much. And I park like a block down, something like that. I don't know. At this point, she's like, okay, officer's coming, hang tight. I'm like, okay, great, perfect. Took 10 minutes for the cop to get there. Ironically, I was parked outside of the police department, outside of the police station, right outside. Anyways, at this point, my mom is like,
saved them in his camera roll. And I also sent one to his girlfriend. And it was about 1 a.m. Well, she opened it right away, and then she started going off and would not stop calling his phone. So after that, I turned his phone off. So he started to wake up, and then we started drinking more. And then we started fooling around. And while we were doing the nasty, I took a video. But he didn't see it because the phone was in front of me. And I had his girlfriend on Snapchat. So what did I do? I sent
me differently after this, so I need to give you a disclaimer that I was 15, young and dumb. We're gonna start at my sweet 16. All night I noticed he was very close to one of my best friends, and I noticed her like have that awkward face of like, okay, like, aren't you Malia's boyfriend? Why are you all up on me? And she kept removing herself, and then he kept going and checking on her. And then at the end of the night, we were all taking pictures, and of course I wanted a picture with him. My phone's dead by the end of the night, so I take his phone.
My first fight. So I thought it is literally a requirement that I have at least one fight before I graduate high school. So I decided my ex-best friend is the perfect choice. We would literally be so obvious that we didn't like each other. Like, we were not subtle at all. We'd be like, so we rode the same bus home. So I'm boarding the bus, right? So I pass her on the bus and I see her giving me a side eye. And inside I'm like, yes, this is my moment. It's time to fight. I whip around ultra.
Okay, Jack knew that Rafe liked me. By the way, Ryan is not his actual name. I don't know where that's coming from. It's because I was like, I don't know. So apparently they just started like wrestling and fighting over me. And like also to preface, they do like kind of play fight every day. But my brother said like this was like real, like they were actually kind of going at it. But like they're fine now. It wasn't like it like ruined their friendship. But it was kind of like a normal play fight that they do, but like more genuine apparently. I don't know. That just like kind of makes me happy that someone can.
To go upstairs and get his wallet. So my friend and I go up in the elevator to our room, and I want to say this was about 20 or 30 minutes after Ben and my mom had went upstairs. So we get into the room, we hear the shower running, which was weird because we didn't think anybody was there. So instead of me calling my dad because it might have been a murderer, I go and the door slightly creaked open, so I look through the door, and obviously I could hear you know what, but hers and his clothes were on the floor. Like for part 3. Part 3 about how my mom got with my sister's boy cheating on me all the time. Well, it was mainly because I grew up in a broken home. And remembering how hard it was on me whenever my parents broke up, I didn't want that for them. Well, over the past few months, my boyfriend had been traveling all over the country with his dad, going to meetings and stuff because he was getting ready to take over half the company. Well, fast forward, it's a Thursday, and my boyfriend has a meeting with some associates who flew in from out of state. And later that night, we were supposed to get on a flight with our friends to go to the Bahamas. Like for part 2. Part 2 about how...
Right? There was a live show and she asked me if I wanted to go. Even though I didn't really listen to their podcast, I was like, oh, my friend wants to go here. Like, one thing about me, I'll tag along anywhere. As long as it's a vibe and it's not boring, I'm there. So she's like, oh, let's go. So I'm like, yeah, cool, like, fine, no problem. And then on that day of the podcast, we decided that we were going to go to Fresh Island. You know, the festival, Fresh Island Festival, if you know, you know. We were just gonna go to the festival for her birthday. She was turning 19.
It's like they got nothing out of it. It was mandatory for every single staff member to go, but they had to pay for their own tickets. After it had finished, we ended up just spending more money than we raised.
Nobody went because it's like, it was random. Like, nobody wanted to go to a black
It was awkward. It was just very awkward.
It was so bad.
The magician was funny, but I heard him talking afterwards to like one of his partners, I guess, and he was saying doesn't think that we liked him. Which we did. He was funny, but
He goes, oh, well, now that we're confessing things. I was like, all right, I'm ready. He, like, snuck some girl into his room, made out with her, whatever, all this shit. And then he goes on this long rant about how he regrets it so much, how all it did was make him realize how much he loves me, I'm better than every other girl, how he's not going to get with a single other girl till me and him get back together. Now, I was like, no, you can get with other girls. We are broken up. You're perfectly capable. And he was like, no, I'm doing this for myself. Okay, I want to be loyal to you. This is my decision. I was like, okay. A week later,
Like, how does that work, Alex? How? Anyway, so I blocked him because there's no way in hell that I'm going to keep talking to a guy that was making fun of me with his friends and telling everybody around him that he wanted to break up with me. That's embarrassing. Story time about how I came out to my homophobic parents. So a little background information. I was 14 or 15 and I was a freshman in high school. And all throughout middle school, I had been questioning my sexuality because I didn't really know what I was into, as do most kids my age. Well, due to this, I was just about 10 minutes away from the guy that I was talking to. Every time that I went to her house, I would leave at about 8 p.m. and go over to his house. And he was 26 years old. And obviously, I knew my parents would freak the fuck out if they found out. And we had planned to keep this a secret until I turned 18. So that way my parents couldn't tell me that I wasn't allowed to be with him. To flash forward to about 3 days before I turned 18, my mom comes into my work. She walks up to me, shows me a picture of him, and says, who the hell is this? So of course I say I
do it together. And I was like, oh my god, that's a really interesting way to bond. And then a third girl walks in and she's like, yo, not saying names, I got your shit. And then one of the girls walks away. And then the other two girls start making out. Again, you do you, like, pop your pussy in the school bathroom. But they were, like making out. And I'm sitting there, like, they start doing whatever they're doing. And I'm... They're trying to be... She wanted me...
party. So a little background information, I was 17 and a junior in high school, and I decided to throw a party at my house before winter break. So usually whenever I threw parties, I would always have everybody in the basement because I had a pretty big basement. There was a sliding glass door to the outside, so nobody had to go upstairs to get in or get out. And I would always lock the door to the upstairs just in case anybody decided to wander up the stairs. And because I didn't think anybody would get in upstairs, I let my dogs run around the house. So everybody who
like, all right. Afterwards, they were getting food. He was like, please come, like, I'll buy you food, whatever. I was like, free food? Got me there. So we ended up getting food and hanging out, and we ended up having, like, a talk, because we hadn't talked in person since we broke up. And I was like, oh, just so you know, like, I haven't done anything with any other guys. I don't know why I felt the need to tell him that. I felt like I needed to get that out of the way, which was the truth. And he was like, oh, don't worry, I haven't done anything either. I was like, yeah. Like, I had a sleepover with this one guy, slept on opposite sides of the bed, and that's literally it.
I didn't think that was that crazy.
I'm gonna tell you the story and you can tell me if you think I'm sensitive. Be honest, I don't care. I get told I'm sensitive all the time, or you can tell me if you think she was being mean. Not too long ago, I went to the Morgan Wallen concert with my boyfriend. I've been to Morgan before, but this was different because this was my first time being in the pit. And like, imagine your favorite singer's Taylor Swift and you get to be that close. Like, you're gonna be excited. Obviously, pit tickets are pretty expensive, so I was like, Ben, we're getting there like 5-6 hours early. I don't care. Like, we are gonna be on the guardrail. We get there hours early. That's important to remember. And maybe like an hour after us, so maybe they're like 5 hours early to the concert. Another group of girls comes up. I believe it was a mom and daughter.
My stalker is now in jail for unaliving someone. And now that he's in jail, I feel safer telling my story. Let's bring it back. I have actually known this man and his family since I was a little girl. Let's call him Freddie. So Freddie was a grown man who was still living with his parents. I want to say he was probably like in his 20s or 30s when I was like a child. They lived in the apartment 2 doors down from ours. And so
my first day, I got all dressed up. I even did makeup. I walked into my first class and having everyone staring at me was already bad enough. Until the stupid teacher asked, "Who wants to sit next to me?" No one raised their hand. Until this guy at the back with fluffy hair, glasses and strong jaw, and was just so fine in general did. If I knew someone as fine as him would be in my class, I would have put an extra.
I'd like to take you out on a date. What do you think?
I'd love to.
Really? Awesome.
Attention everyone, today's the day to choose your maximum time left. Remember, 80 years is the ideal, 100 is the maximum. I wish Brianna would choose less time.
Mom, I'm home. I could really use someone to talk to. I had a really bad day.
Sorry honey, but I have to work late again tonight. I left money for pizza on the counter.
Turn the corner, get to the bus stop. I look behind me and the copper is turning the corner and walking straight for us, and I'm like, done for. Sheer panic, like my heart was racing. I thought I was gonna pass out. I was seeing, I was like, chill out man, what is your issue? Like, he was so nonchalant and casual about this, whereas I was like a good girl from like a nice family, and I was like just using this Made by Mitchell blush. Police officer came up to me and this guy, and he was like, what were you two up to? They're like,
nothing. Like why they were upstairs together. She was like, oh, I was showing him to the bathroom, which I felt super weird about, but because she was my sister, I let it go, because you're supposed to trust your family. Part 3 about how my sister got with my boyfriend. So things started to get really sus because every time that he would come over, they would always find a way to be alone with each other. So fast forward, my sister and I are supposed to go to one of her friends' parties. The whole time though, she kept asking me if I would invite my boyfriend. And no offense, I love my boyfriend, but I need space away from him sometimes.
Everyone is gonna die and no one is gonna remember you, so fuck it.
So like I said, him and I started dating, and the one day I came home with a hickey on my neck. I didn't sleep with him, but him and I were fooling around. But my mom went psychotic. She grounded me. I wasn't allowed to see or speak to Robert ever again. Which was stupid because I'm a 14-year-old girl who's in love with a boy. I'm definitely going to find a way to talk to him. So now this led to me thinking that he was going to get bored and not want to be with me anymore. So finally, 2 months later, my mom was letting up and she let me go out with my friend Lauren. But we ended up just going to Lauren's house so that way Robert could come and
about, because I feel like a lot of girls go through this, and especially now with AI, I feel like it's very common. Anyways, to give you guys some context, I was reached out to by some random girl on Instagram who was based in Qatar in 2021, so that's 3 years ago. So she texted me and she was basically like, hey, I know this is a really weird question, but is this account you? Because she's using your pictures and she's been texting my boyfriend, trying to cause drama, trying to, you know, just like talk to him.
To even complete passes because I'm there and I literally suck at it. Instead of being a good role model and a good coach, she decides to stop the entire gym class and collect us all into like a circle. So I'm like, oh, it's another team meeting, whatever. So she stops the gym class and I can see her like eyeballing me, and I'm like, oh boy, what's this team meeting about? This grown woman calls me out and says, all right, stand over here. And then she grabs one of the other guys who's like really good at football, and she grabs him and she has us throw the ball back and forth to each other 3 times. And then after we do that, she goes, okay.
Our friendship, as soon as we stopped being friends, they were immediately best friends. They were together 24/7, doing the exact same things that me and her would do. So it shows how easily replaced I was. I don't know if this whole thing is based off of jealousy or what. I honestly am still confused to this day. I have no idea what caused this or what has happened. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. I love you guys so much. Bye. My mom pulled up to a party I was at to fight a friend group of 5 girls, of course. And it was just a regular hang at night, not too long ago actually, during spring break. And I had all my girls over. Until, of course there's always an until, the one girl in our group, let's call her Lily, we were, as a group collectively, deciding which Disney character reminded us of each. I know girls get their feelings hurt easily, and no one was like mean or anything. Like, I was Rapunzel, someone else was.
Anyway, so yeah, she ended up going home or wherever the hell she went, and I ended up staying at my boyfriend's house, and he apologized and we sorted it out. I ended up going back to my house by myself and sorting it out with my sister, and she apologized and everything was okay. So me and my whole family were going out for dinner, and my mom said I could have invited my boyfriend, so that's what I did. I invited my boyfriend and we all went out for dinner. It was this really, really fancy restaurant, and it was genuinely a really good time. Bear in mind
again, and I sent them all the proof that this actually happened. And currently, I'm still waiting for him to get fired, because there is no way in hell that you're gonna get me fired and have no consequences whatsoever. Story time about how my best friend was a snake. So a little background information, I was 15 and in 9th grade. And I've been best friends with this girl who we're gonna call Callie since 5th grade. Well, fast forward to 8th grade, there was this guy in my class that I really liked. And obviously I told Callie about it because, like, duh, she is my best friend. And she has never talked to this boy.
I didn't think there was a point in telling her that. What do you mean there's not a point? It's just the truth. I don't see a point in lying. Why is your default to lie? And he was like, listen, tell me you'll get back together with me right now. Let's get back together and I'll block her on everything. I said, fuck no. Fuck no. Then later the night, he actually asked me to suck his dick. So, to which I reply, you should have asked her to do it earlier. And he said, no, she's so innocent, Tessa. So, I don't, I just flipped the switch.
Sir. So then they called the fire department, the police, the ambulance, we're all there. Like for part 2 about the girl who left me unconscious in the girls' bathroom. So like I said, the fire department was there, the police, the ambulance. They called the fire department because they couldn't get the door off. And when they removed it, it fell on me. So I was injured and unconscious. And just a little background information on this girl, who, mind you, was literally 11 years old. She had a 3 criminal record and was recently in prison for 5 days.
So I need to confront you because, like, this is crazy. All this stuff is coming to me. So me and my friend, the one who I called about the whole situation, we came up with the idea to make this man come to a hotel, and it was going to be broadcast and recorded. But I'm going to answer more questions. The video is, like, you know, clocking out, and I got to get to work. I'm super fucking late. So stay tuned for part 2 or whatever. This is like my 20th time recording this because, like, I'm trying to.
So, one of these days, I had walked through her and her friends while they was talking, just so she knew war has started. So yeah, since you're so used to staring at me in the hallway, since you got a little crush on me, we gonna do the same thing back. So since you want to casually bump people in the hallways every day, I casually got my friend to bump you in the hallway, and you made friends with the flow. How about that? But that wasn't it, Pookie. I figured out where you live at, so I was sitting in front of your house. But
stepdaughter didn't want to get active. By the way, if this story is about you, don't take it to heart. It's been 4 years. This is just for entertainment purposes. So move on. Like I said, guys, this story took place like 4 years ago when COVID was around. So yeah. So basically, around COVID, I used to live. Well, I was not really living, but like I was spending most of like my summer COVID era with my cousins at their house.
and practically loud enough so I could hear them. Every lunch table that I sat at, Layla and Ivy would sit at the other end with all their friends and just talk about me the entire time. Well, after this situation, I finally decided that I was going to do online school for the next 2 months and then hopefully have a fresh start in high school. All the girls and I were changing in the locker room and we went to gym class. Ivy asked if she could go to the bathroom, which of course was in the locker room. After gym class, I get changed into my clothes. All the girls start laughing at me when my teacher says there's a hole in the back of your pants. And yes, I did try telling my teachers about this stuff that was going on. As we all should know by now, schools are notorious for not doing shit. It would be to sell somebody's pics. We all laughed, joked about it, the conversation was over and done with. I thought that was it. Like, in all honesty, I thought it was one of those things where you guys make plans to do something and then after the conversation you never talk about it again and you never actually do what you said you were going to do because it was so out of pocket. So my sister's friend slept over that night and I woke up, went to school earlier because I have volunteer work to do, so my sister usually just takes the bus. Well, I accidentally left my computer at school, so I called my sister, asked her if she could grab it and bring it into school. Now, my computer is connected to but I felt so uncomfortable because he was like making it seem like it was my fault. So I hurry up and call my mom, and my mom doesn't get there till like 30 minutes because their house is a little bit further away. And for all of you wondering what happened to him, I don't know because this happened this morning. Story time about how I broke up my best friend and his girlfriend. So it was our sophomore year in high school, and my best friend and I had known each other since we were like 8 years old. And I've always had a crush on him. Like, anytime he would get a girlfriend, I would try and break them up. And it would work. I got into it at school because I told a counselor that she was threatening to unalive herself because I was really worried for her. But then she starts posting stuff about my mental health on social media, saying things like, oh, she has zebra stripe arms. And I fought her after that. Because the only reason why I told our counselor is because I gave a shit about her mental health, like for part 3. Part 3 about how my best friend got my house raided. So like I said, she posted stuff online about my mental health, and then her and we ended up fighting at school, and her mom decided to press charges